What's up, y'all? I want you to join the Noti Gang. Subscribe to the Raiders Report. And if you're wondering, Mitch, what the heck is the Noti Gang? It is the gang of people that make it a point to try to be the very first people that come across every video that I drop here. It helps me out a lot, believe it or not. So please hit that notification bell. Make sure you turn on all. That way you never miss a video and join the Noti Gang. Seriously, start spamming Noti Gang right now. Raider Nation, what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Report, and we're going to get into some news and rumors here on today's show. We're going to talk about what the Raiders' biggest concern left is. I saw an article out there from The Athletic. I'll chime in on that. Is John Simpson going to be starting over Dylan Parham this upcoming season? NFL jersey sales. We're going to break that down because there is a Raiders player in the top 5, and I think we might be part of that. And the final thing we'll talk about here is Rich Eisen broke down some teams that he believes that the NFL is sleeping on. The Raiders, they made the list, but where exactly did they fall? So in terms of the first story that we're going to cover here is the biggest concern. The Athletic broke down every single concern for all 32 NFL teams, and the biggest concern for the Silver and Black was the offensive line. I'm not really too surprised by it. I really think you can go two ways. This is what the Athletic had to say on the Raiders' offensive line. The only significant addition the Raiders have made of this group this offseason has been drafting Dylan Parham. The projected starting unit is Colt Miller at left tackle, John Simpson at left guard, Andre James at center, Denzelle Good at right guard, and Alex Leatherwood at right tackle. Miller played well last season, but Good suffered a torn ACL in Week 1, and Simpson, James, and Leatherwood all had their struggles. Barring a signing, the Raiders will rely on the improvement of young players for the overall group to take a step forward. So the Athletic is saying that offensive line is the biggest concern for this Raiders team. Well, I'm going to ask you because coming up here in just a second, I'm going to give you my 5 biggest concerns for the Raiders. The first one is right tackle. And yes, you can look at the entire offensive line and say there's a concern there. But to me, I'm going to get a little bit more granular, a little bit more hyper-focused and look at that right tackle spot. I'm not saying that Alex Leatherwood can't do it. I'm not saying that Brandon Parker can't do it. But we know for a fact right tackle is a big-time need for this team, or at least figuring it out. Defensive tackle with the injuries and the lack thereof depth. Interior offensive line. I have confidence in Dylan Parham. I want Denzelle Good to be healthy. I'm hoping John Simpson can be a good player. I want Andre James to continue that success. But that group of players right there, it's still a lot of question marks. Cornerback. I want Trayvon Mullen to be healthy. I like Rocky Sin. There is some good depth. But if Trayvon's not healthy, then that becomes a need. And then edge rusher. We know we got Max Crosby. You know you got Chandler Jones. Both of those players, I think, make the most dynamic duo in terms of edge rushers in the league. Besides those two, though, who's going to be getting the sacks here for the Silver and Black? Now, we talked about concerns, but you know what? I'm going to rewind here a little bit because I want you to look at this quote really closely. And the Athletic is saying, okay, this is the projected starting offensive line. Colt Miller at left tackle, John Simpson at left guard, Andre James at center. Well, if this is what they believe is the projected O-line, that does make me scratch my head a little bit because I'm just going to simply disagree. And I believe that there's a lot of people that are split on what the starting offensive line is going to look like because I realistically could probably come up with like 4 or 5 or 6 different combinations at this current juncture. But my question to you is this, because the most surprising name on that list is John Simpson. Do you believe that he is going to end up starting for the Raiders? We're talking Week 1. Up against the Los Angeles Chargers, is John Simpson going to be out there at the starting left guard spot? If you're like, hell yeah, he will, Mitch, type that Y for yes. Or I want you to give me an N for no. In terms of, do I believe is Simpson going to start this upcoming season? I'm going to give it only one just win, baby, and I'm going to say there's a 25% chance of it happening. I get the idea of why he was put into this conversation because he was getting the first-team reps at minicamp. However, I think it's a poor job by the writer of this article to say, okay, we're going to go with Simpson at the starting left guard spot. I just don't see how you don't put Dylan Parham in the starting rotation. I get it. He's a rookie. But also this regime drafted him for a reason. And I know a lot of people that have Parham as the second best overall interior offensive lineman. Now, is John Simpson an interesting prospect? Yes, there's no doubt about it. In fact, one of the Raiders players that I talked to during that Jonathan Hankins burger eating contest told me Simpson's the strongest offensive lineman that this unit has. And last season, for the Silver and Black, he had to play, and he had to be put into a role. He was a fourth-rounder coming out of Clemson who was drafted in the 2020 draft, 1,112 snaps, an overall PFF grade of 52.6, that's below average, a pass blocking grade of 62.7, a little bit above average, run blocking grade of 46.5, that's really below average. And then when you look at some of his snaps, one of the areas that really was concerning for me with Simpson was the penalties, because they were popping up in really bad times, brain dead type of moves. And, you can point your finger and say, well, you got Tom Cable. He hasn't been the best coach, and I'm hoping Carmen Brasillo can work with Simpson a little bit more. But that is an issue that you need to work on, because in 2020, he wasn't really all that great either. Sure, the snaps are lower, but the pass blocking, the run blocking, it's flipped. When I look at Simpson and I look at the skill set that he brings, personally, I do think he is a better run blocker despite his PFF grades from last season than what it actually showed. But do you actually want him to be starting? That remains to be seen. Because realistically, when you look at that interior offensive line, I believe what it's really going to come down to is these three players right here. Denzelle Good, John Simpson, and Dylan Parham. Because it does sound like Andre James has that hold on the center position unless he gets injured, unless something else happens, which then means you got a left guard spot open, you got a right guard spot open, and that's going to come down to Good, Simpson, or Parham. So if you had to bench one of the players here on screen, who would you bench? If it's Denzelle Good, type DG. If it's John Simpson, type JS. If it's Dylan Parham, type DP. I'm going to bench Simpson, and maybe he can prove to me wrong. I will say he might actually have higher upside than somebody like Denzelle Good because of his natural strength. And if Carmen Brasillo can work with him, then sure, I'm all about it. However, to me, Denzelle Good and Dylan Parham are a lot more versatile, which gives them the ability to play either left guard or right guard. I don't see Simpson playing right guard. I believe he is left guard and left guard only. But when you really talk about that versatility, I do think it's a good reason why players like Good and players like Parham are going to have that advantage over Simpson. Hell, I went back and I looked at every single snap by Denzelle Good throughout his entire career. And he's played 909 snaps at left guard, which ends up making up 33% of the snaps that he's played. 0 at left tackle, 0 at center. 1,018 at right guard, 36% of his snaps there. And then he's played 861 snaps at right tackle, 31%. If that's not versatility, then I don't know what is. And the key word of the offseason has been versatility. If you're watching at home, take a drink. And that was one of the reasons why they wanted Parham. Parham can play all over the field. Hell, this guy also lined up at center at the Senior Bowl. In 2019, 856 snaps at left guard. Left tackle, 849 at right tackle, and then 881 at right guard. All I'm saying is this. Dylan Parham can play literally anywhere. So, who's going to be the starting offensive line? I know Colt Miller's going to be on the left side. I just think that this is what's going to happen, and the reason why I say that is because McDaniels, Ziegler, they've made one thing clear. They like the group of players that they have on the roster, but they're going to take the best 5 players, and that's going to be your starting offensive line. Colt Miller at left tackle. Who's going to be at left guard? That remains to be seen. Center, it sounds like it's Andre James. The first crack at it at right tackle is going to be Leatherwood, but then you still got some other players in the mix. Whoever the best 5 linemen are, those will be your 5 starters come Week 1 against the Chargers. Coming up next here are the top-selling NFL jerseys, and the reason why I'm breaking this down for y'all is because a Raiders player and a few guys from the AFC West are on the top 10 list. Here it is right now. Number 1, Russell Wilson. Everyone, FDEN. Then Josh Allen, Davante Adams at 3. Kenny Pickett, 4. Tom Brady, FTB. At 5, Mac Jones, Cooper Kupp, Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes, F those guys. And then Joe Burrow rounding out the top 10. So this is what I want to do here, okay? I haven't shown Davante Adams jerseys in a while, and man, we sold a whole bunch of them. We had a hell of a time when the Raiders traded for Davante Adams. The Raiders just traded for Davante Adams. I think I said that 100 times. And if you want yourself a Davante Adams jersey to make sure he gets above Josh Allen and he passes Russell Wilson, go to chatsports.com/Raiders jerseys. That link is going to be available for y'all in the comments and in the description of today's video. If you're like, Mitch, I already got a Davante Adams jersey. Well, guess what? We got tons of other jerseys available. These are Nike quality, so you can get a Chandler Jones. You can get a Darren Waller. We got Derek Carr. There's Josh Jacobs. There's even old jerseys like, I don't know, Ken Stabler, Bo Jackson, Max Crosby's available. If you need a Raiders jersey, go to chatsports.com/Raiders jerseys. I promise you, it's the jersey that I always wear. My DC is where I got mine from. It's high quality, and especially this time of the year where you sweat, the sweat's not going to come through the jersey. I promise you, you're going to like it a lot. All right, the next story coming up here. People. Who are people? Let me know. People are still sleeping on the Las Vegas Raiders, and we'll talk about this because Rich Eisen brought this up. But before I do, I want to give a shout-out to my guy, Graphic Raider. He had this tweet the other day, and he was like, was just asked who my Mount Rushmore Raiders content creators were. What are yours? So I saw this tweet, and I chimed in, and if you want to see my Mount Rushmore, which is basically the top 4 guys in the game right now making Raiders content, I put it on Twitter, I put it on Instagram, at Mitchell Renz 365, but I'm always trying to broaden my horizons. And if anybody out there that runs a podcast, that has a radio show, that does something on YouTube, and you feel like I would bring some value, hit me up. I would be more than happy in the offseason to join the show. But here's the thing. I want to know from all of y'all, who are the best people on YouTube in the podcast game? Who do you listen to for your Raiders content? And if you could, give me your top 4 names, because that would be your Mount Rushmore of Raiders content creators. And who knows? My goal is to be able to get some of those guys on future Raiders shows in the future. We'll see. We'll see. But at the end of the day, I want to know what you guys are watching. All right, the next story here is this. Sleeping on the Raiders. Rich Eisen. Top 5 NFL teams people are sleeping on. The silver and black were mentioned. They weren't number 1. They weren't number 2. But they did come in at number 3. And I'm looking at this list here, and, I can make an argument for the Pittsburgh Steelers. People are sleeping on them because they don't have Ben Roethlisberger anymore, but that defense is still legit. They got a good running game. They got a good group of receivers. The New Orleans Saints, they might have one of the best defenses in all of football. It's just that offense is a major question mark. Philadelphia, if Jalen Hurts can put it together, that team's going to be good. Cincinnati, though, is, I don't know. Sam and I, we were sitting here talking before the show started, we're like, I feel like Cincinnati's not a very good sleeper team. Did they go to the Super Bowl last year? Yes. Do some people think that they're not going to go? Sure. But to say that they're a sleeper team, I thought that was a little bit lazy on Rich Eisen's part. The Raiders, though, I absolutely agree with. And Eisen said this, that he believes the Raiders, not that people are sleeping on them, but will outright win the AFC West. I know the AFC West is going to be a gauntlet of division. And hell, if I was seriously doing my job at Chat Sports, which I do NFL analysis, I know, it's crazy, I can make an argument for all 4 teams to win this division. But if the Raiders win it with the odds that they have, that would be a great underdog story, even better than the average Joes. All right, y'all, so if you made it this far in the video, I want you to like it right now if you believe that the Raiders are going to win the AFC West. I'm hoping this video gets over 1,000 likes. I hope that y'all made it this far in the vid, and I hope everyone enjoys the rest of their week, because after this video, I'm getting ready to hop on a flight. I'm going to go to my buddy's wedding. I'm going to be a best man in the wedding, and then for the rest of the week, it's going to be a little bit foggy, not going to lie.